order to get a reusable medical device on the market, device manufacturers need to validate reprocessing instructions to ensure that the device can be adequately cleaned, disinfected, and/or sterilized. Hospital infections continue to be a problem in this industry, and although they cannot often be attributed to inadequately reprocessed medical devices, the FDA is scrutinizing these validations and how they're being performed. In the wake of this scrutiny, the FDA has released a new draft guidance document that gives medical device manufacturers guidance on how these instructions should be performed, as well as how the validations need to support these instructions for the end user. Cleaning validations are seeing the most scrutiny right now in this industry. Cleaning is the first step in device decontamination process. It is necessary in order to assure that the device can be safely handled by the end user, as well as to make sure that further processing steps such as disinfection or sterilization can be adequately carried out. Typically, new conditioned devices have been used for these reprocessing validations. However, the FDA is concerned that used conditioned devices be used for these validations in order to determine that during the lifespan of the device, the reprocessing instructions are adequate and can be carried out appropriately. However, used conditioned devices are often not available, as this is a first step for medical device manufacturers to get their product on the market. So the FDA is requesting that manufacturers simulate used condition by taking the device through a series of cycles of contamination, cleaning, and disinfection or sterilization in order to achieve a used condition device. The number of cycles are not always determined or spelled out by the FDA, but this should be justified by the device manufacturer. The number of test devices is also being scrutinized by the FDA. Historically, these validations have been performed using 3 test devices through one run. However, medical device manufacturers are being asked to provide additional runs for their submissions for approval. This is in order, the FDA is asking the medical device manufacturer to justify the number of runs in order to make sure that the process is reproducible. Another area of focus for the FDA is the test soil that is being applied to the device for these cleaning validations. There are a number of validated, commonly used test soils. However, the FDA wants the manufacturer to make sure that the test soil that they are choosing and using for these validations is clinically relevant. For example, if the device will see blood or mucus, then the FDA wants to see a clinically relevant soil that has those constituents in it. They also want to make sure that the amount, the volume of those constituents is appropriate as far as what the device will see in the clinical setting. The other thing to consider is viscosity of the test soil as well as tenacity of the test soil. Will it hold up in the same manner as your clinically relevant environment, what the device will actually see when used in a surgery? For these validations, the FDA is concerned that they represent worst case scenarios. Now, there are several steps where worst case can be applied into this testing. The first being the contamination process. We need to make sure that the devices are seeing a worst case soil in the worst case portions of the device, and then that the soil devices are being allowed the appropriate worst case dwell times that would be seen in a clinical setting. Another step for worst case is in the cleaning process. We want to make sure that before attempting a very involved, elaborate cleaning, that we are attempting to do the detergent manufacturer's labeled minimum soak times and minimum procedures that are going to be that will define the minimum for the actual instructions for use for these devices. Extraction efficiency is another area that the FDA wants to see. There are many cases where different extraction procedures need to be used for these devices in order to test the endpoint of concern. But the FDA wants to make sure that an efficiency is being performed in order to validate that extraction method, to make sure that it is appropriately removing the right amounts of those residuals that are being tested. Now, residuals that are being used for this test have typically been bioburden or protein or TOC or carbohydrates, hemoglobin. The FDA is moving away from bioload reduction. They don't believe that this is a clinically relevant marker to determine cleanliness of the device. However, they do want to see 2 markers at least be used for these device validations. There are still a lot of strides and questions that need to be answered to make these validations more appropriate and more reproducible. Standardized soils, standardized reprocessing instructions, clear instructions, and acceptance criteria will need to be looked at as we move forward to make these validations more consistent and more appropriate for all medical device manufacturers who are trying to put out reusable medical devices. We at Nelson Labs, we're happy to work with our clients to help them get through these hurdles, get through the FDA regulatory red tape, and help them to get the best reprocessing validation for their specific medical device. And we're happy to consult with our clients and help them through this tedious process.